This is the most terrifying prison in the world. Locals call it the pit because the room contains only a bed and a sink, and a huge, scary hole is in the middle of the floor. This prison consists of hundreds of similar levels, each housing 2 prisoners. Food is delivered daily on a platform that descends through the hole. Prisoners have just 2 minutes to eat as much as possible before the platform moves below. The further down you are, the less likely you are to get any food, causing insanity. A young woman wakes up with a huge, bold man on level 24. Watch her closely. You'll understand how it all went so wrong by the end. But for a better understanding, we must know just a few details. In a dark room, kids are having fun as if unaware that gloomy shadows are creeping in around them. But something feels off. Something scary is about to happen. Before going to prison, people undergo a special interview. Trapped in a vertical prison are allowed to bring 1 item and 1 dish that will be served to them every day.
Anything?
Anything? Lasagna.
Pizza.
With coconut sugar.
French fries.
Zamyatin, one of the main characters, decides to bring a juicy pizza loaded with toppings.
I eat pizza every day.
He makes it clear that he will be extremely angry if he doesn't get his pizza daily. For his personal item, he chooses a lighter, hinting at a troubled past involving an arson attempt on his family's house. Their cell is on the 24th floor, but Zamyatin's excitement quickly fades. When he reaches for his pizza, he finds that someone has already taken a bite. Just then, screams echo from the 21st floor above. Prisoners are accusing someone of breaking the rules. The rule is simple. You can only eat your own food or trade willingly with someone else. The prisoners from the upper floors explain that this rule was created by the inmates themselves, not the prison's management. The whole prison is divided into 2 factions: the loyalists, who enforce the rules, and the barbarians, who don't. After the Solidarity Revolution, a system was established where everyone must eat only their own portion to make sure food reaches those on the lower levels. Zamyatin wants to break the rule and try someone else's chicken wings, but the neighbors upstairs shout for him to stop. The girl offers him her dish.
Do you want one?
Croquettes with ham and cheese. He smells them and reluctantly agrees, though he's still dissatisfied. The loyalists warn them of another strict rule. Food cannot be left behind in the room. If you don't finish before the platform moves down, the punishment will be severe, and there are no second chances. The neighbors tell Zamyatin he's lucky, as the floors are shuffled randomly each month. Today, he's near the top, but next month, he could end up at the bottom, where food never reaches. Each meal is a chance at survival. As the platform descends, the prisoners start to get to know each other.
Zamyatin.
Padampuan.
Meanwhile, we see more clips from the interview, revealing that she voluntarily entered the prison to deal with guilt over something she did in the past. This means not everyone is here by force. Life in the cell becomes routine. Perempuan draws on the walls, occasionally distracted by her coughing neighbor, who keeps struggling to reach the hair on his back. Soon, disturbing news spreads. The connection between floors was lost on level 44, meaning the inmates there stopped following the rules and responding to others. The prison has 333 floors, and the loyalists explain that they travel down the platform to keep order and protect food from the barbarians. Anyone who breaks the rules faces harsh punishment. A fight breaks out on one of the upper floors. The prisoners tell Zamyatin to grab iron rods from the bed frame to defend himself and help protect those below. He's not ready for violence and offers to give away his pizza if it means they'll leave him alone. Tensions rise. Perempuan grabs a rod, preparing to fight. When the platform reaches the 24th floor, the prisoners find a lifeless body on it, followed by 2 wounded individuals. Suddenly, a fire breaks out on an upper floor because food left behind during the fight triggered the punishment. A woman falls down, her clothes ablaze, and Perempuan desperately tries to put out the flames while Zamyatin stands frozen in fear, unable to act. The battle rages on with no way to escape. Blow after blow, loyalists and barbarians fight with all their strength to survive. Perempuan manages to extinguish the woman, but it seems too late. She grabs the iron rod and strikes the enemy's ribs, buying some time. A loyalist knocks the barbarian down and his head hits the platform just as it starts moving downward.
The platform! The food!
The room becomes freezing cold. They have to throw all the food off the platform. The air is so cold it's almost impossible to breathe, but Zamyatin remains still, ignoring the pleas to help. At the last moment, they manage to clear the food, and the room warms up. All three take a deep breath, horrified by what just happened. They tie up the barbarian, and after making sure he's unconscious, Zamyatin, feeling emboldened, tries to vent his frustration on the helpless man. A loyalist stops him, saying there's been enough violence.
No one will be eating tonight anyway.
The large man blames the loyalist for everything, showing no gratitude for being saved. He says he could have enjoyed a feast yesterday and argues that a little freedom wouldn't hurt anyone. The loyalist snaps, furious at the idea that freedom means eating whatever you want. Silence fills the room for a moment and Perempuan checks the fallen woman, confirming she didn't survive. This enrages the big man further. Zamyatin smirks, patting the loyalist on the back, saying he was brave. Unable to hold back, the loyalist grabs the big man by the throat, but Perempuan intervenes, stopping him and asking what they should do with the bodies. The man explains that he plans to ride the platform further down, searching for the anointed ones. These are people who supposedly met the teacher, the one who established the prison's rules. Some call him the missionary, or Hidalgo. No one knows if he's still alive, but legend says he survived a whole month without food on one of the lower levels, meditating. The next month, he woke up on a floor where no food ever reached. He cut off a piece of his own thigh to feed those in need, his anointed ones. They have since spread his message throughout the pit, using force if necessary to protect the idea of food distribution. Zamyatin couldn't care less about this story. He shouts at the loyalist.
But I haven't eaten in 2 days.
And I want my pizza!
At night, the platform rises, and the big man suggests eating the real meat, especially the one already cooked by the fire. The loyalist reminds him that cannibalism is forbidden, and he throws the body down. We watch as the body breaks apart when it hits the edges of the levels, and the pieces disappear into the darkness, grabbed by unseen hands, hinting at the complexity of the prison. The next day, a new platform with food arrives. Zamyatin teases the barbarian with his pizza. The loyalist throws away the food of those who died, explaining that it's wrong to benefit from their deaths. He assigns the big man and the girl to help keep order. The young man takes the barbarian down on the platform, punishing him with iron rods and mentioning that few of the anointed ones remain. The platform leaves, and the characters are left alone. The next day, they face a choice: follow the law and throw away the food, or secretly eat someone else's meal. Perempuan throws away the first dish, leaving Zamyatin to throw the second. He sneaks a piece, but throws away the rest. The big man looks pleased, and the people above notice the disobedience, but stay silent. Days pass. Perempuan follows the rules, trading her meals to try something new. But Zamyatin keeps sneaking food when no one's looking, though the people above are watching. Gradually, they settle into a routine and start helping each other. Perempuan helps shave Zamyatin's back, and he shares his pizza with her. On the last night of the month, Perempuan shows a drawing of a prophet feeding the anointed ones with his own flesh and asks Zamyatin to draw something. He explains that he's not as foolish as he looks. He spent his life studying pure mathematics, but gave it up. He draws the square root of -1, explaining that imaginary numbers made him lose faith in math, work, and life itself. Perempuan tries to understand, but Zamyatin insists that the imaginary has no purpose. Suddenly, there are screams. This month, food reached the 175th floor, a rare achievement. Perempuan suggests they dance, and although Zamyatin first calls her crazy, they dance that final night. The next morning, they wake up on the 180th floor. The neighbors exchange information about their meals, but it's clear that something is wrong. On the 169th floor, barbarians might have woken up. Zamyatin loses hope. And when the platform comes down with no food, his fears are confirmed. The neighbor below, who went 25 days without eating, still preaches the prophet's teachings. When the platform arrives again, they don't even look at it, convinced it's empty. Later, Perempuan draws another picture, while Big Man seems to be losing his mind. He covers the wall with square roots of -1 and plays dangerously with a lighter, coughing more frequently. Suddenly, the man coughs up blood, and at that moment, a head falls down. People shout that it's a sign. The anointed ones are cleansing the pit of barbarians. Discussions start on the floors, and Big Man declares that law is power. His condition worsens, and Perempuan lays him down, trying to help by wetting a cloth.
And you'll be rewarded forevermore.
The next morning, they hear that food has reached the 167th floor. Neighbors report that the anointed ones are looking for people who broke the law, including those who feasted on the 176th floor and a fat man who ate the food of the dead on the 24th floor. Perempuan keeps their secret, saying they were on the 46th floor, but Zamyatin believes they'll be punished. She gently lies down next to him. In an interview flashback, we learn the man dropped out of school at 16, failed in business, and was kicked out by his wife and kids. His parents suggested sending him to the pit, thinking he needed discipline. In the interview, he grows angry, not understanding why he needs discipline. The interviewer explains it's to stop his attention-seeking behavior. Big man stands near the hole as Perempuan wakes up and sees him. During their conversation, the big man lights a fire and admits he was wrong. He confesses to eating food that wasn't his and warns Perempuan not to come closer. But she approaches him, crying. He tells her she doesn't deserve punishment for helping him and asks her to tell his kids he always loved them. The prisoners watch his fall, some with joy, others with malice. On one of the floors, the Anointed Ones, led by a man with an eye patch, watch as the burning body disappears into the abyss. The next month, Perempuan is on the 51st floor with a new quiet cellmate who chose plums. Perempuan explains the rules to her, and they find half-eaten food on the platform. A woman above mentions issues on the 46th floor and higher, but says the Anointed Ones will punish the rebels. The cellmate refuses to eat, and we see that she's missing an arm from the elbow down. It's revealed that a barbarian from the 2nd floor came down to the 54th floor. That night, Perempuan can't sleep and sees a hallucination of Zamyatin on the bed next to her. In the morning, more heads fall, and the girls hear it was the cruel Anointed One, Dagan Bobby. When the platform arrives, Perempuan's cellmate becomes aggressive, grabbing a rod and pulling Perempuan onto the platform with her. 2 men criticize them for acting on their own, but 3 of them still go down to punish the barbarians. Suddenly, a barbarian attacks with a piece of glass, and the fight turns against the loyalists. Perempuan is shocked by the violence, unlike her cellmate, who eagerly fights. The barbarian pretends to surrender but tries to escape on the platform. The cellmate catches him and hits him. Then Perempuan joins in, knocking him down. The barbarian says he was just trying to survive and begs for mercy. Perempuan struggles, unable to deliver the final blow. When the platform begins to lower, the barbarian escapes. The cellmate is frustrated and Perempuan tries to calm her, while a boy across from them smirks. That night, Perempuan bandages her cellmate's wounds. The cellmate shares that she has been in the pit for 6 months. On her first day, her friend explained the rules, but they seemed unfair because they only protected food. They followed the rules until one day, they gave extra food to a starving boy. In punishment, Dagan Bobby cut off her arm, and her friend gouged out his eyes. Dagan tied her friend to the platform, and the lower floors ate her alive. The cellmate tells Perempuan that no one survives the pit because of the unfair rules, and she suggests escaping during the interval at the end of the month when gas puts everyone to sleep. But they need to find a way to stay awake. She proposes going down. The next day, a man is lowered on the platform, crucified at the edges, while people above continue to hurt him. The cellmate grows nervous, recognizing Dagan Bobby's method. The girls decide to escape that day. Armed, they prepare for a fight. Dagan and his followers limit their space. He starts talking about how the girls broke the rules and offers them as much wine as they want. He says food is both a right and a duty because strong people are needed.
Enjoy.
The girls start to eat, but then they're taken hostage, held by the neck. The boy is left alone. Dagan speaks to the 2 men who allowed Perempuan and her cellmate to go down. One of them regrets it, but tomorrow will be his last meal, and the other will lose his hand. The second man argues it's unfair that he will be punished while the white-haired girl won't. Dagan insists the law must be followed, not interpreted. He decides to cut off Perempuan's hand, but she protests, saying it's wrong to punish those who defend the law. Dagan says if they don't punish offenders, people will stop following the strict rules. Suddenly, the boy reveals that the girls plan to escape during the reset when the prison renews itself by eating a dog to wake up and escape. There's laughter, but Dagan quickly silences it. Perempuan's cellmate is stripped and held hostage, while Perempuan is tied down by her arm with bed sheets. The platform lowers and screams echo throughout the prison. Perempuan is left without her hand, and her cellmate is thrown onto the platform, tied with the same sheets. Perempuan wakes up on the 72nd floor and sees an old man, her new cellmate. He doesn't speak, but he shows her a bread knife. Remembering her cellmate's story about the drowning dog, Perempuan warns him not to talk to the people above or below. When the food arrives, the old man ignores the rules and eats other people's chicken wings, not caring about the complaints from above. Perempuan suggests they leave together to avoid trouble. They descend on the platform, briefly seeing a vision of Zamyatin before he disappears. When a man with an iron rod threatens her, Perempuan convinces him to join, explaining that they are stronger together. Over time, they recruit another person, making them 4. The people above threaten that the anointed ones will punish them, but the barbarians keep eating and throwing food down as a protest. Perempuan stays silent, observing the tense situation. Finally, they decide to stay on one of the floors, feeling ready to face Dagenbabi. Their attention is drawn to a painting of a drowning dog, which an old woman describes as an original. When the woman tries to celebrate the rebellion, she is met with mockery. Perempuan locks eyes with a man who once tried to kill her when she was still a loyalist. That night, the barbarians sing, celebrate, and prepare weapons for the coming battle. In the morning, they wake to the sound of the platform, but it arrives with no food. Dagenbabi and his men stay on the floor above, announcing that no food will be delivered for the rest of the month. He offers them the chance to surrender, promising only the rebellion leaders will suffer. Arguments start, and the old man suggests going down to eat those who follow the law. Perempuan talks about her 4th art exhibit, which focused on animal cruelty. Her boyfriend brought his energetic son, who ended up tripping and getting fatally injured by one of her sculptures. Perempuan hopes the boy didn't suffer. Meanwhile, the old man and the other prisoners roast meat and offer some to Perempuan, but she turns away, lost in her visions. The next morning, the barbarians prepare for battle. Perempuan hides the painting of the drowning dog. The platform arrives with mattresses like a Trojan horse, causing confusion. The battle begins. The barbarians attack, but then the loyalists arrive to protect Dagenbabi. Perempuan fights, and the old man suddenly kills his ally, showing there are no friends in this fight. Perempuan battles her attacker, using the old man's knife to kill him, but she doesn't answer his last question about the painting. The fight continues, and the participants injure each other. The platform descends with the lifeless bodies, and Perempuan sees the old man pinning Dagen down with his foot. The loyalist asks her to finish the job. She wonders whether to heal his wounds and feed him his own flesh, but she decides not to use her imagination for torture like he did. In the interview, Perempuan admits she was warned about the danger of the dog statue and says again that she needs time to forgive herself. That night, she throws Dagenbabi's body down and decides to descend, inviting the old man to come with her. But he refuses, saying this was the best month of his life. Perempuan recalls her cellmate's plan and swallows a piece of the painting, losing consciousness. We then see a crowd of children climbing over each other, pushing and shoving to reach the top. One boy finally gets to the top and celebrates. A beam of light falls on him, and 2 adults follow, 1 man and 1 woman. They whisper something to him, but there is no joy in his eyes. The woman takes his hand and leads him through the crowd of children, who look worried, with some even crying, possibly knowing where the boy is being taken. A green light appears, and Perempuan wakes up to see people in suits collecting bodies. A flashlight shines on her, and she pretends to be dead. They tie her to the other bodies, and everything floats weightlessly, with objects flying around. As they descend through the levels, Perempuan watches what's happening around her. The masked workers check on the sleeping prisoners, tightly tucking them into bed. The pile of bodies is lowered further, and Perempuan realizes they've reached the 331st floor, then 332, 333, and finally, an unknown dark space. The worker leaves the pile between the 333rd floor and the unknown abyss. Perempuan's mind is filled with thoughts of the past. She wishes she could save the boy who was hurt by her statue, but she knows she has to escape now. Still, the voice urges her to save him. She pushes off from the bed across from her, but in a moment of distraction, she hits her head on a stone bed, and drops of blood scatter above her. Perempuan looks at the boy and decides to rescue him. She picks him up, pushes off the bed toward the top, and crashes into another stone barrier. Holding the boy, Perempuan falls down, hitting the floor. Suddenly, her vision shifts to a drop of blood, and she finds herself in a red-lit room. Before her are burnt people and a man with a beard. She looks down and sees a platform with no food where the boy lies. The bearded man throws her a knife, and in horror, she grabs it. Perempuan swings the knife, and a scream echoes. She's back in the room, sitting on the platform with the boy. They are descending into total darkness, not knowing what to expect. Above her are 300 floors, but the platform keeps sinking lower. The light from the pit shines on them, but not on anything around. Perempuan watches the boy as if accepting whatever fate may come to them in the abyss. She looks behind her and sees people approaching from several directions. In confusion and fear, she carefully watches them. Suddenly,
Your journey is over. We'll have another chance.
she reaches out her hand, and Perempuan, exhausted, accepts her fate and lets go of the boy. Zamyatin appears in the background. Perempuan is led away while the crowd leaves the boy on the platform, which quickly rises upward. Perempuan is left drained, and the crowd leads her into the darkness. On the platform, people descend with saved children, and we see a familiar hero with a sleeping girl. The old man appears and tells him his journey is over. The old man and the hero walk away from the platform but turn back.
She's the message.
She's the message.
A girl steps out from the shadows. It's Perempuan. She asks the man how he got there.
What are you doing here?
The heroes embrace, and with that, the second part of The Platform ends.